nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. You ain't seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. I think there's something in the water. If you wanna take a sip, but be careful what you wish for. The faint of heart can't handle it. Everybody wants a piece of someone else's prize, but it ain't free, it don't come cheap. Only the strongest will survive. You ain't seen nobody like this.
Good evening and welcome to San Antonio Soccer Roundtable. I'll be your host tonight. My name is Harry, and joining me is the birthday boy, 29 still, right, Rafa? Happy birthday to you, man.
Yeah, 29. I'm legal.
Barely.
Barely legal, yeah.
Well, hopefully you've had a good birthday so far here, and thanks for doing this on your birthday here. I know birthdays on Mondays are not a lot, typically to do in the middle of a work week, but do appreciate you hopping on here. So last high school show of the year, and we got some really good news to talk about here. For that here, we got a couple of state champions, for that here in the area here. So before we go in and talking about each level here, just kind of your thoughts on, the state final up in Georgetown. I made the comment, and like I said here, I know you've echoed it before as well. I would love to see them playing the state finals in a soccer-specific stadium instead of on the high school football field in Georgetown. Not saying it's a bad complex, but with McCalla Park, and I know it's not open yet, but McCalla Park up in Austin, or Q2 Stadium, Q2 Stadium, Bold Stadium, Toyota Field. You got the Arlington Stadium where North Texas plays. That's could house things. You've got over in Houston, where the Dynamo play. Was it BBVA Stadium? Down in the valley, you've got HEB Park, and of course you got Toyota Stadium up in Frisco. So there are lots of facilities to where you could put on a proper final in a soccer stadium, so that way you don't have to see football lines going across the field here. But that's my opening rant here. Rafa, how about yours? As far as for the high school UIL high school finals, and just before we go into the breaking down, but just the thoughts on this past weekend and really the playoffs overall.
I think one thing is we're glad that we got to go to the finals, because I think it was about this time last year that they canceled everything. So to be able to crown 6 new state champions was great. I know 2 of them were from our area, which we'll get into in a bit. And then just one thing is that we didn't have any problems with COVID, the teams forfeiting games during the playoffs, something that I know the high school football and some of the basketball teams had a dread for a while. So just a great year. I think this year, like I mentioned, talking to Coach Cano, this is probably was one of the most exciting years for high school soccer. We can see a lot more of the coverage, the excitement, and so forth. And hopefully this momentum goes on to the next season. And, I think this is one of the sports that needs to be recognized more, especially here in the state of Texas. And I would love to see, like I said, a final at a soccer-specific stadium. Yeah, I don't like seeing 50, 40-yard lines and someone's end zone with their mascot or something. Hey, let's get the we have some quality fields that we can play our finals at. If they can do it for the football finals, play at Cowboys Stadium, sure as heck we can do the same thing for whether here at Toyota.
Even the stadium in Round Rock, and I know they've got a nice little facility, that, I think would seat, I don't know how many show up, but that would be the only question is, how many people actually show up. But to me, like this year, where I'm assuming attendance was down compared to normal. Just number one, with the ticket prices. Number two, with COVID, people still not traveling a whole lot.
No.
For that here, I think for UIL, they've got something that they could work with. They just got to be able to capitalize on it. And I know UIL looks at the dollars. To me, I would like to see them, and I know they went for the finals on, was it the NHFS? For that, I would like to see something like that. Whether it's through them or another type of a program, to where you could watch all the rounds of the playoffs, because most of them are I think most of them are starting to get where they videotape them, or record them, show them live. I would like to see them make that investment, for that, even if it's like a My Kuju, along those lines here, for that a lot of semi-pro teams use here. But let's get into the what happened this past weekend. We're going to start out with a local team, the 4A boys, the Bernie Greyhounds, getting a 3-1 win over Fort Worth Diamond Hills Jarvis Eagles. There, I know heading into the finals here, Bernie was at 21-1-1, and Diamond Hills Jarvis was at 26-4-2. Your thoughts on the match here, your takeaway, of a great Bernie team, being able to bring the title back to the, back to the San Antonio area.
What can you say about Bernie? This is their first title since 2006. And that's when Coach Rogers was with the team. So they had a great run during the playoffs to knock off some teams. They even blew out some teams that I thought probably would give them a challenge. And, I wasn't too sure about this, the Diamond Hill Jarvis team, how, kudos to them to make it to the final. But just watching the game, Bernie was just at another level. They flexed their muscle. They got a goal in against the win. And then really they just never lost control of the game. Maybe towards the end, I think Jarvis kind of figured them out a little bit, and that's where they're able to get that goal. But kudos to the coaching staff at Bernie for an excellent run and getting that state title. So it's truly deserved, and like I said, congratulations to them. And one thing is, that only loss that they have was to the new 6A state champions.
Right, lead 3-1 in the first game, and their only tie was to Austin Eastside as well, which I think they went for. Well, I guess I should have double checked it, but I think they were ones that went in the final or playoffs too, right?
Yeah,
Austin Eastside.
And I think they avenged that game, I think, too, as well. So, kudos to them. So that speaks volumes for that program. Even though they're a 4A, they were able to compete some of the bigger teams and so forth. I'm hopeful. I think they have a good squad coming back. Could I see them?
I'm only counting about four or five seniors compared, like Diamond Hills. I know we kind of joked, about their, about their age a little bit, just in some of the pictures, but they were running about 10. They were a very senior laden roster with, just looking at a quick count here, about 10 seniors compared to Bernie that had about the 4 to 5, if I counted correctly, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Yeah, about 4 seniors on the roster here. So, depending on the talent that they lost, you could see them making another deep run next year.
Yeah, they're probably going to be the favorite going into next season. They'll probably be the number 1 team for 4A. So I think they can do it. I think they can repeat. Like I said, there'll be some other contenders out there. From other regions, like I said, I thought like a team like Palestine would have been in the final. That would have been a great game a good test for Bernie. Maybe we'll see them. We got those. We have Midlothian, Heritage, the boys. They got a great program. Argyle. Even that one of the teams that they beat, 7-0, the Hidalgo team, they're laden with
They
a
were
bunch.
young, yeah.
They were very young with a lot of freshmen, and so to be able to make to the regional final, with that young talent, I think they may be the ones to contend against Bernie, next year. So it's gonna be, like I said, it's gonna be great to see who can step up against Bernie, try to challenge him for the state title next year.
And Ralph, yes, I have a Austin Las Verdes scarf on the wall. Yes, I do have that for here. So just to answer your question, but I do not have an Austin FC scarf. I just have one of the supporters groups that I have several friends in for that here. Switching to the ladies for that here. In a pretty dominating fashion, Midlothian Heritage won 6-0 over Corpus Christi Cal Allen Wildcats for that here. And like I said here, the score was it could have been more. Just being honest, watching that game there. But it's from if memory serves me correct, Corpus Christi Cal Allen was the first school from Corpus. Mm-hmm. On the ladies' side to reach a state final. So congratulations to them here. And looking at their roster here, they had 6 seniors, but still, looking at their roster, a lot of sophomores peppered in there with some freshmen, depending on their playoff there, but their playing time. But to me, your thoughts on Cal Allen coming through. I know they ended up on the short end of the stick, coming from, representing, the kind of the South Texas area here. But your thoughts on Midlothian Heritage winning that's their second out of 3 years.
Yeah.
They won in 2017, 2018, and then won this year here. So,
I mean, what can you say about Midlothian? Heritage, they're a great program. Checking out the game, very technical wise, really good soccer, and they just, like I said, Callan had no answer, and that goes back to maybe also, the level of play that Midlothians, is used to. They're in the Metroplex, and also what the players do off season too. So I'm sure a lot of those Midlothian players play very competitive club soccer compared to what it is in Corpus Christi. But nothing bad to say about Cal, and
mm-hmm.
They did beat 2 quality teams in Wimberley and Bernie to get who were 2 of the favorites to get to the state finals, and then they beat a Salado team that many thought could beat them too as well. So, it's a good building block for that program. I know there are other coaches probably going to look into this. Okay, what can we do to take that next step, and compete in that state title game and win it. So, the sky's the limit. Those girls set the bar in Corpus. Because, like I said, they're the first team from the Corpus area for boys and girls to make it to a state final for soccer. So, they'll be one of the favorites for next year for Region 4 again. Like I said, you'll have other contenders like the Bernie girls and like in Wimberley. Maybe even Canyon Lake and maybe even Davenport, because, like I said, Davenport was young and they got some experience, and they're going to bring pretty much everybody back. For the following year.
Yeah, their only loss was a 4-5 loss to Rockport Fulton, after beating them 4-0 earlier. So, to me, like I said here, job well done to the ladies down in Cal Allen. And like I said here, it's you always like to hear, areas getting into their first, finals here just to see the growth. And, obviously we root for San Antonio schools, but I won't lie, if it's from the Valley or Corpus, it's going to be a soft spot just because, they are in our region here for that here. So moving to the 5, we'll do the 5A girls, another local team. This one a little bit north of us, Dripping Springs Tigers, and probably what was the most competitive, I think 2 evenly matched teams, Dripping Springs and Frisco Wakeland Wolverines. I heard reports that Dripping Springs was the favorite going in, but listening to you and Coach and I kind of thought Wakeland was the favorite, despite the records going in. But your thoughts on the 5A ladies title that goes to Dripping Springs, another Region 4.
This was like a heavyweight boxing fight. I mean, you had two heavyweights that went through, knocked off some pretty good teams. I mean, Frisco Wakeland knocked off the number 1 team in the state, which was Highland Park. So I think that's why they were, I think, one of the favorites to going into to this game. But then also Dripping Springs, look at their defense. The Sloan defense wins championships. Knocking out Cedar Park. They knocked out Gregory Portland, who was undefeated. They knocked off a really good Friendswood team, which has the history of going to the state finals and winning state championships. So this is, like I said, probably one of the best games, going into, and it was just back and, like I said, Wakeland struck first, and Wakeland could have really blown this game open. They missed a lot of opportunities. I think this could have been, going into 20 minutes into the game, it could have been 3-0, before the equalizer by Dripping Springs, which was a beautiful shot. So I think had Wakeland equalized it, we could be had a different results, but Dripping Springs didn't back down. They got the equalizer, and then the second half, one of the players was able to knock one in, sneak one in, and they were able to hold off and win the state championship. So kudos to Dripping Springs. Like it's another representative for Region 4. Great season for them. I know they have some young players, and they might be, like I said, a contender again for next year. And then also a shout out to their booster club. Yeah, for they do a lot of great things for that team. So shout out to them. So going into next year, I think Dripping Springs will more likely going to be the favorite for Region 4. But you're going to have contenders. Can Alamo Heights bounce back? Can Bernie Champion bounce back? Then you have those Valley teams like McAllen, Gregory Portland. So this is, like I said, Region 4 stacked with teams that can, maybe become our representative going into the final, the state Final Four for 2022.
And Lewis, sent in, a great question or I guess a comment here that, he would love to see an inter-regional all-star game postseason. So where, maybe, an all-star team from Region 4, maybe like a weekend where you have, region 1, 2, 3, and 4 put together an all-star team, and maybe a weekend have them come together and, play a semi-tournament.
Actually, they are going to do something like that. The UIL Tasco usually hosts an all-star game, like a senior-related all-star game, like Region 1 versus Region 3, Region 2 versus 4. I think it's coming up the next few weeks. So if you go to the Tasco, the Texas Association of Soccer Coaches, I think they'll have the dates for those games. So, and usually they have that game. I don't know when was the last time they had that game. I know they've had it in the past, like in Round Rock. I'm not sure maybe they'll have it here in San Antonio. It'll be nice they can play in Toyota. I mean, it'll be a nice little change of pace to kind of feature all the talent here in the state of Texas has for high school soccer.
Going to their website, they say they have a senior all-star game will be held at San Antonio at Blossom Athletic Center May 15th, and more information will be available once teams are selected here. So it does seem like that there is going to be some sort of, maybe not a all-star game, but, a senior all-star game to, reward those here for that here. And then let me get back over here. So on the 5A boys, in what I call the Rafa versus Lethal match now, Frisco Wakeland Wolverines 3, Humble Kingwood Park Panthers 2, in a pretty good game between both clubs. Like I said, I think for 5A, I think they were the two best matches as far as the combination between the boys and girls. And it's not saying that the others weren't, just from a competitive standpoint, you had two quality or 4 quality teams counting the ladies. But on the boys' side here, the two Frisco Wakeland getting another state title, which is 2 out of two out of second out of 3 years for them as well.
Yeah, they've made it, I think, in the finals 4 years in a row. I think the only blemish was when they lost to El Paso Bel Air. So this is the start of a dynasty, and they find a way to keep it up. I know going to this game, like I said, I did get to see Kingwood Park play in person here at Ferris Stadium. I mean, I was impressed with some of the talent they have, but there were some chinks to the armor. Being a coach, you can kind of sense, Valley View just doesn't have the firepower to kind of hold off that offense. Like I said, they gave up a two-goal lead, and really Kingwood Park should have never had a high-scoring game. They should have really controlled that game. But Wakeland, like I said, they're more of a complete team. Just scouting them, watching them on video, and like I said, they beat some pretty good teams. They beat a really good El Paso Del Valle team that's won 2 state titles in the past. So, like I said, this was going to be 2 different styles. Like I said, one kind of a run and gun, the other one a more of possession. And Wakeland found, like I said, it was like a heavyweight fight. But Wakeland found a way, and they controlled Prono most of the game. They kind of shut down most of the offense for Kingwood, and they were able to pull it off and get a 3-2 win.
And looking at Frisco Wakeland, and I know you mentioned that they've, it's really since 2014. The only year they haven't made the tournament appearances was in 2015, but 16, 17, 18, 19, and 21, and of course 20 there wasn't a tournament. But looking at their roster, that roster is nothing but juniors and seniors, with the exception of one sophomore goaltender for them here. So, but you mentioned just with the talent up, that they're able to pull from that. You're going to see a lot more of these, senior laden or, junior, senior laden teams, for that here where, Humble, Kingwood Park, probably not quite as much senior. I think there's about 7 seniors on there, but you see a little bit more junior sophomores mixed in. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how they come through. But like I said here, I know, looking at the playoff run, that Region 3 had to get through, with Region 4 and along those lines here, that was a little bit tough. But your thoughts on kind of favorites for next year? Is it still going to be kind of Frisco Wakeland, and I can't mention El Paso Del Valle without getting in trouble with the coach here. So you think those are still going to be kind of the favorites, or
Here's the interesting thing about Frisco Wakeland. They're in a district that has, I think, 11, now 12 high schools. So normally you would think that, that talent would be spread out, watered down with, a team wouldn't be able to make, but they've just built a dynamite program. Kudos to their head coach, what they're doing over there. They don't rebuild, they just reload every year. And I'm sure they probably have a really good JV program that really focuses a lot on their technical play, and like I said, they're ready to go once they get into the become a varsity player. So, if you're going to model a program, like I said, this is one of the programs you want to model to. But
do you think they pull from a lot of the FC Dallas Academy, because that is up in Frisco itself? Do you think that they pull a lot from and obviously that's typically gets scattered between the schools, but
I think majority of them are probably playing with FC Dallas, or I think I did see some comments. There were some who were played with Solar. Solar's an excellent club too. Mm-hmm. They're in the Dallas area. I think they have like a Chelsea affiliate. So, like I said, those players, off season wise, they're battle tested. They played competitive soccer, and I think this is what's helping them, win a lot of these big games in the playoffs. When they run into, like I said, I think there's going to be other contenders, like El Paso Del Valle will be a contender again next year. You have like the Highland Park Boys is another contender. It's like I said, that DFW Metroplex has so many good 5A teams besides 6A too, but 5A teams that anybody can beat anybody and get out of their As far as Kingwood Park, I think they'll probably be the favorite for Region 3, to get out. Like I said, I think they might have to replace a couple of their some of their scorers, but like I said, they have the experience and they should make a run. But they have other contenders there. Like you have like Sharpstown, that's a great up and coming program. Some of those schools in Richmond, they've been doing well, so that you can see them being a contender. A couple of the Katy teams, there's a couple 5A Katy teams that I think Patau and I think Jordan's going to be coming in. They may, say something about the Kingwood getting to the finals, but then Region 4, I think it's wide open. Watching the Valley View, I didn't think the best team represented Region 4. Valley View, they just great raw talent, but it needs to be polished. They need a more technical skill to compete. I think had they made it to the finals, I think Wickland would have probably put 4 or 5 on them.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion. But like I said, how do the San Antonio teams bounce back? Like Alamo Heights, Bernie Champion. Another team that we didn't discuss was the Dripping Spring Boys. They had a good season.
They had a great season, yeah.
Yeah, they had a great season, but they got knocked out by a really good Brownsville Porter team, who I thought should have probably. I think had they made won the region, I think the result versus Kingwood Park probably would have been different. We could have seen Porter versus Wakeland, and like I said, Porter has really good defenders. They touch the ball great. So you have those teams coming up, and then you have other teams like Brownsville Lopez. I know they didn't really do well this year. I think they were young. So keep on a lookout for them. You have Veterans Memorial. That's another contender. So you have all these teams from Region 4 that can, whoever's willing to step up, is going to represent our region next year.
So moving to the 6A final, a team up in Austin, the Vandergrift Vipers, lost 2-1 against Flower Mound Jaguars. Looking at the roster of Austin Vandergrift here, looking at the record here, they got off to a semi-rough start here of the season. They lost 2-1 to Clark, tied Round Rock Westwood, and lost to Round Rock, and then went on their great run with only losing to Round Rock Westwood once again in the regular season before the final here. But looking at their roster, they're very senior laden file compared to Flower Mound Hill, who you mentioned was a powerhouse going in, and looking at their rosters, a lot of juniors, a lot of a few seniors sprinkled in. So as far as for a repeat, I'm assuming they're got to be probably one of the favorites going into next year. For the the 6A ladies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this game was another heavyweight fight. Lewis Flower Mound, they knocked off some really good teams. They knocked off that number 1 Prosper team, which I think everybody thought they were going to get to the final. They knocked off Flower Mound Marcus, which is their district rival. That district they're in is a very brutal district, and for them to do that, especially with a young team, they have a target on their back next year, so they'll probably be the favorite to get to the state Final Four. But like I said, that Region 1 is going to have a lot of contenders there, and there's going to be gunning for them. Vandergrift, what can you say about them? They had an excellent season. Pleasure to get to seeing them play. Very physical, very technical, great. Just very balanced team. That they also a couple of teams like the one game that really impressed me was that game against Reagan. They just flat out imposed their will on them. And right then and there, I kind of knew, okay, this team is probably going to be a contender. And they got over the hump by knocking off that Round Rock team that was also good too as well, because they were their district champs. So, that game, was back and forth, but Flower Mound found a way to win, and they were able to hold on. And like I said, they got themselves a state title for this year.
So, saving the San Antonio team to make it to the final and win for that. The San Antonio Lee Volunteers 2, Rockwall Heath Hawks 0 here. In what's been a 3-year story, I think, for Lee. Since 2019, they lost in PKs, if memory serves me right. Last year they were trying to finish, and obviously the season got pulled due to COVID. But this team was able to get the job done for Lee, and like I said here, I know they made the entire city proud, as well as Bernie as well. But with San Antonio, Lee being part of San Antonio, I know Mayor Ron, congratulated them. I know SAFC congratulated both teams, but had the banner for the Lee Volunteers. So I know you and Coach chatted back and forth, and as this match was going on. But your thoughts on Lee being able to get the job done this year and bringing home the title to San Antonio.
Like I mentioned, this team was on a mission, and what came out of it is like that one game that they lost. They redeemed themselves with that game. They flat out imposed their will on Vandergrift, and then they had a close call with Clemens, because Clemens could have beaten them. And then I think they finally got that PK monkey off. It was sort of off their back when they knocked off Lake Travis. Like I said, I think whoever won that game was probably going to get to the final. And then they took care of business with Jersey Village. Wonderful save by one of the defenders to kind of keeping the momentum from that game changing and so forth. So they know what was at stake. They were focused on this. But then they're running into a team that many would thought that was a Cinderella team. Rockwall Heath, nobody said anything about them. But they knocked off some pretty good teams to make the way. They knocked off a really good Allen team. We knocked off the team that we thought, me and Coach Khan thought was going to be El Paso Eastlake. And that was the one final we were really looking for, because Eastlake and Lee were like the mirror image of each other. But like I said, Allen took the win, but Rockwall Heath knocked them off in the penalty kicks. So we have a real defensive team versus a real good, offensive balanced team. And Lee didn't, let up on them. They pressured them. They kind of played more their way in that first half, and they finally got that real nice goal and to take that 1-0 lead. But a little concern in the second half. He started kind of pushing up, getting chances. They almost broke through. I know Coach Connor mentioned about one of the goals that he thinks they should have gone in. I don't really see. I think I did see a foul on there, but it's up to the refs for that. I mean, that could have changed the complexion of the game. But Lee kind of reorganized again, started imposing their will, started playing more possession. They finally got that second goal off of that free kick off the header. And that pretty much did in Heath, and they couldn't really recover from there. And like I said, the mission was accomplished, and they got that monkey off their back. And now they have a state title. Like I said, I think that's their first state title for any team since 1971, which I think one of an NFL quarterback, Tommy Kramer, was a quarterback for Lee that year. So, like I said, so kudos to them. Congratulations. They get to put that little star on the crest, and hopefully, like I said, I think there's still plenty of talent on that team. Do they repeat?
They lose a lot, though.
They do lose a lot, yeah. But I think there's some talent there that they can. I think they can still repeat. Because they've been there. But
I'm not saying that they won't, but both goaltenders. You lose Joey, was it Batruni? As the starting goalkeeper. They do have a junior on the second one there, but looking at their roster, they've got 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seniors on that team. Mm-hmm. But I think what makes the key point, that you're talking about here is there's also 2, 4, 7 sophomores.
Yeah.
And 1, 2 freshmen. So you're talking a pretty balanced balanced rotation between between classes, and it just depends on how much is there. But I think it'll be interesting, because I think goaltending, learning from you, sitting with you the last couple of years, goaltending is so huge at this level. If you have a great or above average to great goaltender, that can carry you quite a bit, because it covers up for a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
For that here. But I did want to comment, on and see if you've maybe seen a run like this by Rockwall Heath. Looking at their schedule, they ended the year. Their last win would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They ended the year with 7 matches, no wins, and out of those 7 matches, they tied 3 times and lost 4 times. And even if you go a couple before then, they had 2 wins and a tie on there here. So to me, that is a heck of a run, because if you look at how their season ended, you wouldn't have thought that they would have got on the run that they did, and then once they got that confidence going when it came to the playoffs, they were very competitive. And I watched that game against Lee, and they gave Lee I won't say everything, but because I think Lee had control of the game, especially when they got that first goal. But there are a few times in there where Rockwall was knocking on the door and could have very easily got that tying goal, and then game on. You have that confidence built up. But to me, you're spot on as far as a team kind of catching fire at the right side. I don't remember me seeing a run like that, based on how the season's ending. Because usually you want to go in hot to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I know you've been around the game quite a bit. Have you ever seen a run like that where teams struggled at the end, and then once they got into that second season, it's almost like the coach said, "Hey, reset the button. It's we've got a clean slate here."
Yeah. Usually a team that makes a deep run starts to get hot towards the end of district play, and they just carry that momentum. Something must have happened at Heath that the light
player came back or something like that.
Yeah, the light bulb switched on, and one thing I did, like I mentioned to Coach Canos, is sometimes you do need luck. Luck does play a lot in getting into to advancing. You got to have the ball bounce your way, and maybe the soccer god saw something in them, say, hey, we're going to give you a nice little run after having some bad luck. And, and like I said, they're a good team. I did see a lot of good things defensively. Their second keeper, here's the thing why I kind of question.
Yes.
The second keeper, Finley, that 6'3" monster, he's also a tight end for their football team. I don't see why they didn't start him the whole game. And I didn't think the starter or their starting keeper that started the game wasn't at the same level as he was, because Finley did make some great saves. They did get by that one on that header, but I think that first goal that they at least scored, maybe Finley could have saved that one and kept them in the game. So I think the strategy was I would have put probably my best keeper in this game, and maybe we go, we say 0-0 and we sneak one in at the end, or we go 0-0, go to overtime, win there, or go to PKs, which I know Lee doesn't want to go, But like I said, I kind of question why they didn't start him the whole game. Another thing I noticed in Heath that they weren't very not saying good. They weren't. I guess they're not very good offensively, as far as they didn't have someone that they can, carry the team, or 2 players that can really carry the offense and run it through them to get those goals when they need to. I know they got their chances towards the end, but I think Lee kind of noticed that they don't have anybody they can depend on. We can take care of this. So maybe that's something I think Heath needs to work on next year. Find themselves, someone that can really kind of like a ball hawk, put that ball in the net when they need a goal, if they're down or behind. Something similar to what Kingwood Park had with their two forwards. I think that was the missing ingredient for them. But defensive wise, they were good. I know they made couple mistakes, but goalkeeping wise, I think they were toe to toe with Lee, with Joey. I think the feeling was just as good as Joey. I think the talents, both of them are probably those are probably your two best goalies in the state of Texas, right there for high school for soccer.
And he's only a sophomore,
yeah.
So that's the crazy thing for him, is that he is only a sophomore, for that here. So that's the when you guys are talking about, I think you guys said he was 6'3", 6'5", somewhere around there, starting tight end of the of the football team there. I was like, oh, that's pretty impressive. So
he also plays for FC Dallas too.
Oh, so does he?
Yeah, he plays for FC Dallas Academy. That's impressive too. So
he's going places.
Yeah, he's going to either play football somewhere, or he's going to maybe play for FC Dallas Academy. So, like I said, plus, being a sophomore, who's to say he doesn't grow a few more inches? We could see him maybe 6'6", 6'7" goalkeeper there. That'll be very difficult to get some goals. For that. I think even Wakeland's goalkeeper, I think he was 6'5". I think he was one of the. I think he was considered one of the best ones too. So it pays to have a really tall keeper, in the back of in there, you're blocking shots there in between the pipes.
So just to kind of wrap up on the high school soccer, I think Region 4, which is the region that we're in, I think was in 5 of the 6 title matches.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously there's a lot of talent in the areas, so outstanding job to all the coaches, all the assistant coaches, the staff, the trainers, and I know there are probably student trainers that kind of help with the programs. But also to the players, like I said, as Rafa mentioned, with it being COVID, with happen to be in a little bubble and along those lines here. I know for me, like I said here, it was fun to get out to the couple of games that I got out to, and hopefully next year, things are a lot more normal. We'll be able to see a lot more travel between, early in the season, for the showcases, because I think. Like Cal Allen, to me, I think would really benefit from going up north and playing in Dallas, or playing it in a little bit tougher preseason tournaments. Even though you might take a couple of couple of losses, getting those losses early, being able to test yourself against the top teams in UIL, both in your region and also in other regions, as you've mentioned, pays major benefits when it comes to playoffs there. So. Thank you to the players and coaches, and like I said here, and everybody that's took part in covering the game here. Your final thoughts on the high school side before we do a quick little recap of San Antonio's new kit.
Like I said, just like I say, thank you to all the coaches out there. Great season to all you guys. Congrats to our 2 state champions, and I think something to look forward in 2022. To the teams out there, make sure you work hard during the off season, do your thing. I think things are going to open up a lot better. I think a lot of teams will have those opportunities, like you mentioned, to go to some of those tougher tournaments and showcases. The important thing is, I know, winning games is important, but when it comes to district play and playoffs, that's what matters. And it's very important to go ahead and, schedule those tough teams. Stay away from the cream puffs, and and challenge yourself and challenge your players, because that's going to help you build your program, but also see the measuring stick. Okay, what do we need to do? Okay, this is the result, so forth. What do we need to do to get to this level? And I think that's what a lot of these teams, look at Rockwall Heath. They had 8 losses. I think that was the first time a team that made it to the final that had that many losses. So that shows them that they're not shy of playing some of the big boys out there, and the very end. At the very end, it paid off for them to get to the state final. So that's something to look forward for next year for all the teams here, especially here in Region 4.
So we have to talk about this beauty. The San Antonio FC kit here. When they released it, I was trying to do the, because they released the shoulders, with the patches, and then they released the badge with the, with the gray for it here. I know our buddy Scott, he didn't like it. I saw some of his comments on Facebook, and his takes withstanding. I personally like it. I like the stripes, going down, kind of matches the badge, which a lot of people were kind of, liking. Some didn't like the placement of the sponsorship with Toyota, how it's all kind of bolted out as opposed to still, having the stripe go through. So your thoughts on the kit?
I mean, it's a decent kit. I thought they were going to go to maybe, white jersey, gray checkerboard. Kind of match our home jersey. That would have been nice. Something kind of similar to what, I don't know if you look at Croatia's, they have the white and the red. I mean, it would have been nice with the white and the. But I think the one thing I know what Scott had mentioned about the back of the jersey, then it continue with the stripes. I think they should have done that instead of having a solid color. I think maybe that would have been a little bit better. I think it's all going to be white shorts, white socks. I mean, it's an okay kit, I guess, for an away kit. I like to see them go away from the white, go with something more wild, like some of the European teams do, with their away kits or their third kits. That's just me. I mean, I'm into,
so you like Man U's? It was Man U, right? The one with
that one kind of that one looked like you're, in that movie. What's called that Madagascar movie? And you look
here's a kit you probably love then, because this is a team that did go through. And let me see if I can find it here. Because on the same day, San Antonio released theirs. Oklahoma City released their new kit for that here. Let's see if I can. There you go. That's out there. It's their alternate jersey, Electric City. To me, it looks like a Christmas sweater gone rogue. During the summer here. I love that teams are creative. With it here, especially if you're on Team Puma here in the USL, and you got the hexagon. Because I think New Mexico.
They got a third jersey.
Yeah, the third jersey, which is the sea green one. RGV's blue kit is the same. There's like 3 or 4 teams that have the same. It's almost like, hey, USL went MLS light as far as with kits here. Everybody's got to have the same with just your own colors. But to me, comparing it to the Oklahoma City kit there, I was like, oh, I like this one a whole lot better. Not that I'm a kit guy, but it's,
I mean, I can understand the away, but honestly, they do need a third jersey. I like to see them do like a black and gray or something. Or an all red one. Hell, heck, we can do about as long as we don't look like a candy stripe or a candy cane. We're fine with that, but. I think they can be something more creative. I know there's some out there that want to do the Fiesta colors.
You say that, and something.
Then 210 come out with one.
Well, 210 came out with one, but let me see if I can find it here. Something that popped out today here. I'm trying to see if I can find it here. There was a tweet that SAFC or Spurs Sports had trademarked a new logo here. I'm trying to see if I can find it here real quick here. Because I think somebody tagged 210 on this here. So Aaron with an E posted that, and then of course this came off of Reddit here, but that SAFC had trademarked the badge, but with the Fiesta colors inside of it. So, you know, and from my understanding, if you're trademarking something by USL, that typically it's not cheap to trademark something. So you got to figure something's coming in, you know, whether it's this year or next year, who knows? I know they came out with the Viva promotions, right? I think there's 3 of them. I'm wondering if you're going to see something tied in with, you know, with those, you know, for that here.
I like to see them come out with, you know, for like a military appreciation night. I know they do the tops, but I like to see like a camouflage, kind of what the Spurs had, the camouflage jersey.
And that's what Rosalinda mentioned here. I think the camo would look better, you know, for that here. But to me, I did find that interesting because how many people have been clamoring for that Fiesta kit, and it looks like, you know, SAFC may not respond. They may not seem like they're listening. But you and I both know that Preston, Luis, and the gang do monitor social media pretty close. and if you do kind of, you know, get close to that line, you know, they will touch base with you to say, hey, what's going on, both in a positive and in a negative manner. As I've you know I've bounced on that line close, and they've kind of reached out in a good manner. Don't get me wrong, but they do watch, they do look at the feedback. Now it may not go as quick of a timeline as we want, and they, you know, of course, the Spurs Sports and Entertainment is typically pretty coy to begin with. So you know they may say, hey, no, nothing's going on, but in the background, rest assured that, you know, they are watching and looking, you know, at what the fans are wanting, you know, for that here outside of the TV and radio, because of course they haven't done any movements on those. But
honestly, I don't do something crazy like those Inter Milan jerseys that we saw that look like they're doing the Tour of France or Tour of Italy.
So the only other San Antonio news is they did get a loan this time here from you know, from the Sounders, and that is going to be a midfielder, Shandon Hopino, who's on loan from there. He's a homegrown with Sounders, you know, in his, you know, between 2016 2020. And I don't really count last year because he spent most of the time on the, you know, on the bench with the Sounders and didn't get to play a whole lot. But the 22-year-old scored 5 goals and recorded 4 assists in 2019, which was the last full season that he really played for that here. So I was kind of joking beforehand. You know, he's got, you know, more goals than some of our forwards do in professional action here. You know, for that here. So roster's at 21. I think we looked at, there's 10, you know, 6 defenders, 2 goalies, 3 forwards, and 10 midfielders, I believe is what we kind of were talking about here pre-show here. So I'm assuming if Seattle's loaning him, I'm assuming that's what the assumption that, you know, he's going to play, or at least he's going to get the first shot at playing. I know we don't have Royce here. You know, he'll be back next week, but this one was going to be a pretty heavy high school final playoff here. So thoughts on where he fits in, and then like I said here next week, we'll catch up with Royce and see where he fits in. And then, of course, we got the RGV match, last friendly this week here before the season kicks off on May 1st.
They got a bone to pick with them too, but I'll say that for them.
For who?
For RGV, for that game change in a bit, but
the game move from Saturday to Sunday.
Yeah, I'll explain why.
Okay.
But as far as our new midfielder, I did look into a little history on him. Being a homegrown player. He's from Hawaii. He actually was I think one of 12 players that got taken to Real Madrid for like a tryout. So that tells you something what type of caliber player he is. And like
Aren't
I said,
they a super team?
because we have 13 championships. Shout out to Daddy Florentino. But yeah, he's got a great experience, and I think he's going to do wonders with us. And I'm more likely he's probably going to have to start unless Seattle calls him back up. I don't see Seattle calling him back up unless they start to struggle or they have or they get the injury bug. Kind of similar to what with St. Clair last year, and so I think we'll see him a lot on the pitch, and I think he's going to do wonders. And like I said, he's got experience. He's young. He's hungry. We're adding right guys, I think, to fit this system of play what Marcino wants, what he wants out there to help CC because, and that's something like I said we're noticing from this year's team and last year's team. It's becoming a little bit more, more deeper than it was the year before. So it's a good addition, and we'll see if they add anybody else. Do we need maybe another defender? Or do we need another forward? We'll find out within the next couple of weeks. What decisions that the front office makes.
So, any final thoughts on San Antonio FC? I know, kind of a quiet week, before the storm. You mentioned you had a bone to pick on the RGV move. Did you want to do that on air or not?
Yeah, I can do that on air. I noticed on Twitter that they posted, and I gave my comments on Twitter. I noticed they moved the game from the 15th to the 16th, from Saturday to Sunday, and I was going to make a road trip down there. And I was like, why are they doing this? I guess they don't want San Antonio FC fans down there on Saturday because we'll have more fans than they will at their stadium like we always do every year.
I don't know because they opened up 350 tickets. I want to say I think I saw online to the Curse, New Mexico United. That and I know that's the first game, but I don't know. I think the goal would be to get butts and fans. AJ had a tournament, or I think he's going to have a surf tournament that weekend. So I don't think I was going to be able to make it. So it actually getting rescheduled kind of benefits me, where, I think if his team, plays early on Sunday, I could possibly go down, but then, it's the next day getting off on Monday, because it's a 7:30, 9:30, and it's a 5-hour drive.
A 4-hour drive.
So maybe we can still road trip it together, because I know Monica won't let me go down and back by myself. Just she wants, if I'm going to do it in a day's drive, that she wants to have somebody else in the car to make sure I don't go to sleep.
Yeah, I was looking forward to making that trip down there, spend some time.
Yeah, down there and stay the night. Good thing I didn't book the room at the Holiday Inn there in Edinburgh. But,
maybe we need to do the same thing to them, like when we play them, move it to a Sunday night or Wednesday night.
They don't show up anyways. They don't have any fans, so.
That's true. Yeah, I don't think they've ever had fans. So.
No, but shout out to the Stampede, and like I said here, down in the valley, like I said here, Edson and gang. Ray with South Texas Sports here. Like I said, you guys do great work, and the banter's fun going back and forth, for that here. So I can't get you out of here without talking, the Super League killed the game talk here. And I know you support one of them, and you're wearing the badge of one of them. I'm surprised you haven't been booed and tarred and feathered off of the show yet. Thoughts on the Super League, $6 billion, and the mess that it's causing. So,
honestly, to me, I'm still like 50-50 with it. I like the idea of playing. I don't hope maybe Scott's watching. It gets Scott's team out of the farm league and play play some of the big boys. Instead of beating
Bayern isn't in it. So France and Germany turned it down. Germany, I think, turned it down because they're fan-owned, so it's a little bit different ownership structure. From my understanding, PSG turned it down because they're tight with one of the TV guys. One of the big TV people. They're real tight or owned or something affiliated with them. Yeah. And since this isn't in that network, they're not one of the first people there. But I've heard once the World Cup or something, something goes through, that they will be one of the teams, because not all of the founding teams have been announced. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is that this is the first group that's going to take the brunt of the hit. To me, and like I said, I've been called out for it, saying it's a bad take. And like I said, I don't follow Europe soccer like you and a lot of other people do. But to me, what's different between this than what the EPL did in '92? Because that was about money. Let's be honest with you. This isn't about competition. This isn't about sporting merit. This is about, can I get more money? And that's all it's about. That's what EPL was about. Everybody thinks it's a great league now, but I bet if we had social media back at that time in '92, '91, when this was coming together, I bet you'd have the same reactions. And that's to me where, like I said here, I come from it as kind of a neutral. I don't really, I adopted Accrington Stanley, which will never be in the Premier League, based on current ownership, and they're very lucky to be in League One right now. With the 5,000, stadium, and that's probably the highest that they can probably achieve. Hopefully they can continue going forward. Don't get me wrong, but they'd have to open up a lot bigger budget, and they have an owner that's, watches his pennies, rightfully so. But to me, as not a fan of a super club, or even a large club over in England, how does this change things? Does it change things? Because it doesn't sound like they're leaving the EPL, or that's not the goal. But then you got people saying, or not people, you got federations or leagues saying, hey, they're going to ban them, which I'm like, you're really going to ban your biggest clubs in the league? Is that really what you're saying?
Well, it's like a supercharged league. I guess you can say a little. I know there were some comments thrown, like I think it was at the Juventus or Inter Milan owner said something about Atalanta, but I mean, like I said, Atalanta did earn to get into the Champions League and so forth. I think what it comes down to, like you mentioned, is money.
That's all about money. That's all it is.
The one thing is that the TV rights. If this league does get off, who's going to own the TV rights, especially here in the United States? Is it ESPN going to really throw the cash? Because EPL is covered by NBC Sports
right now.
La Liga, League One. They have a deal with BN Sports, and then ESPN Plus has the Bundesliga and the Italian League.
Yeah, Italian League's going to CBS. I want to say CBS next year. Let's see.
Because I think La Liga eventually is going to move to ESPN. I think.
Yeah. So ESPN signed from 21-22. CBS will be the new home after those expire. So the CBS All Access is you've got the Argentinian and I want to say Brazilian leagues on CBS, with the Champions League, and Serie A is going to be on there on CBS. ESPN's got a lot of little leagues, MLS, USL, of course. Their probably biggest league now is the German league. Bundesliga, right?
And they also have Liga MX too, because they have a couple games on ESPN Deportes.
But that's
But
Liga
I
MX
actually
to
that's
me,
going to change because I know Fox Sports has some Liga MX with the English
Mhm.
commentators. So I think eventually, I think maybe I think ESPN may look into adding some English for Liga MX. But like we mentioned, like Club America, they're owned by Televisa down in Mexico, so they have the biggest market, the TV market. They're in Mexico, so some of these teams may want to. I know they started branching out, kind of doing like the Longhorn Network type of deal. Some teams are being featured by Fox, some by some other one, by ESPN Deportes. So, like I said, the TV rights is really, I think, the biggest thing. I think that's what Florentino really wants because they don't get a big cut with the Champions League, and I'm sure with BN Sports, I don't think they get a big cut either, especially with the American deal over here. So, I think when you have these 12 teams, well, I guess the 15 teams that they want to do, they want to have a bigger share of the revenue. And we don't know who those 5 teams that want to, qualify for it. And all these threats, back and forth. UEFA and FIFA shouldn't be, you know, saying stuff like, "Well, we're gonna kick you out," and this and that and so forth, because they've done some shady stuff too, especially like with the Qatar, getting, taking bribes for that. So we don't have any choir boys. Like I said, there's no choir boys on either side, but
yeah,
this
this is
it's
rich owners trying to get more money. And one thing that I hope, and I watched a little bit of the Leeds Liverpool match today. I hope people kind of take a step back and don't really harass the teams and the players and stuff, the coaches and the players, because this is way above where they're at. This is the ownership that's making these decisions. The boards that are making these decisions, and like the Glazers with Man U, they're never out in public. As far as to face the media along those lines, they're not going to face the criticism. So be careful with the players. Be careful with the teams. When you're interacting, and I know it's sensitive, but I have a feeling if you spoke to the players, they're not going to be for it until they say, okay, hey, the club's getting how much more, and that means that they're going to be able to get how much more on that. But to me, it's, I don't know. It's just I think for me, TV wise and money, people saying, hey, they won't watch a team because of that, I have a hard time seeing that. If you support the club, you support the club. Now you don't have to like their decisions, but you can't tell me watching Real Madrid versus Man City at with the best players in the world, you're not going to watch that, because people will tune in. That's why they're pushing this envelope. It's why Liga MX and MLS are doing it. It's not for the players. It's not for the teams as far as on the pitch. It's for the money that they get from the TV network. Because I think one of the biggest things that people don't really appreciate or understand here stateside, or maybe they do and they just don't recognize it. Liga MX is the most popular league in America, but they're hardly on TV unless you watch, the Spanish channels along those lines. That's really the easiest way to access the thing there. I have a feeling once, this, merger, Super League, whatever they're going to call it, between MLS and Liga MX comes into play, they're going to be on a lot more TV channels, Fox, ESPN, along those lines, to where, the TV deal for them, is going to take that next level that MLS can't get by itself. And Liga MX, I think, would love to grab some of that TV money, from the United States, because they do draw very well here stateside.
I mean, imagine Club America versus Chivas on Fox on Fox,
Mm-hmm.
or on ABC, because that's, like I said, here in Mexico, like I said, you have Univision. That's your most rated, the game that gets the most ratings because it's a rivalry game. So you introduce that to the American market, to ABC or to Fox. That's your game of the week, and that's the rivalry game that everybody. Like I said, now you're catering to more people that are going to want to watch that game.
LAFC, LA Galaxy versus one of the teams in Mexico.
Yeah.
It's just to me, like I said here, and I know Leeds came out saying soccer's for the fans, but at this level where soccer's being played at, where if it wants to be a top 3 sport in the United States, basketball, football, soccer, if that's how you want it to be the top 3, or even baseball, you've got to have that TV rights money. And in order to do that, MLS has a lot of things it needs to adjust. But one of the ways that you can get around that here stateside is by these super leagues, is by this, and I know it's funded by JP Morgan Bank, that's doing that. So it doesn't shock me that it's an American bank that's financing it, that a lot of the owners are from the United States, NFL for that here. So I think it's going to be interesting. I think the landscape of soccer, both domestically and internationally, is going to be changing quite a bit between now and 2026, for that here. So I think this is just the first shoe that's going to drop here, for that here. And that's why, to me, if I'm USL, if I'm NISA, I start trying to come together and trying to force a seat at the table. Because if not, you could be skipped very, very quickly here for that here. And that goes for all Allure division. We got to stop this, bickering between each other. If you really look at it, we're not that far apart. There's differences in how leagues are ran and stuff like that. But if the goal of the game is to grow the sport, to grow the players along those lines, MLS isn't slowing down. In fact, they're trying to, carve out their niche even more. So if you're going to want a piece of this pie, you're going to have to start to make sacrifices. And I'm looking at you, USL, to where you've got to start working maybe a little bit more with NISA to be able to grow that, to be able to expand that, especially if you want to do promotion and relegation. I think that's one way that you can push push the game forward here in the United States.
One thing you said eventually could also happen, like I said, with this European Super League. Let's say we have a Super League here in North America. The next step will probably be a global Super League.
Yep.
You have Real Madrid traveling to Argentina to go play Boca Juniors. We got Barcelona going against the LA Galaxy, or
because they're not flying commercial.
Yep. No,
they're not flying commercial. It's I understand the time zones and stuff like that, but it's not like you cramped on a United flight flying 6 to 10 hours. They're on a private plane. Yes, it's still a plane. Don't get me wrong, but it's a lot more. They've got the finer amenities than what we ever dream of. So, any final thoughts on your birthday before before we go? I know we dragged this out a little bit longer than what I anticipated here, but I didn't expect the Super League to dominate soccer and even sports conversation here. The last couple of days here.
Yeah, because who's to say this doesn't affect some other? I mean, NBA is a global sport. Who's to say they don't affect them? They start playing Champions League or baseball. Like I said, they got to merge with Japan or Korea. And the Dominican Republic or something like that. But
they have the World Baseball Classic that they tried that before the COVID, and it's done very well. But they've just the whole problem with doing the world things there is everybody's on different schedules. That's the issue.
So my final thoughts. I just want to say thank you, Harry, and everyone else out there. Just wish me a happy birthday. I love you guys. Thank you very much. Made the day special, and look forward for many more. And I'm also looking forward to a couple weeks for the season opener. So that's what I'm looking for. Hopefully we get a win.
You're fully vaccinated now too, right?
Yeah, So took the Johnson & Johnson 2 weeks ago. No side effects, no headaches, no blood clots, no nothing. So I'm good to go. So I'm still wearing my mask. So even if you're fully vaccinated, still wear your mask. Be mindful of others. But like I said, that way we're gonna have more fans, in the stadiums packed for the SAFC games, and we can get to sit back on our original seats for after the first 5 games and so forth. But like I said, just thank you guys again, and like I said, we'll, look forward for another round table for next week.
So my final thought, number one, obviously, happy birthday to Rafa. Number two, I want to thank the 50-50 podcast with Coach Cano coming on, and I know he's coming to San Antonio. So I'm hoping there'll be next year the high school coverage, between the two can kind of help expand and maybe grow a little bit more than what we did this year. Plus, being able to get out the games a little, and feel more comfortable about doing so will be easier. So I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of the next steps that we can do for that. My final thought is I was able to go out and see the Athenians friendly against Central Texas Hornets. And it's that time of season. One of the semi blessings, I guess you could say, about the SAFC RGV match getting rescheduled is that Saturday night at Soccer Central. Austin Elite will be traveling down to the Athenians, and I can tell you, for women's soccer, you're going to see a lot of talent on each side here. So I think it was May 15th is for that here. And like I said here, I know I'll be, on my social media feed, be pumping it out a little bit more. But the Athenians are starting to come into action. Looking at their roster, they won 4-0 over, Syntex Hornets team that was their first, talking with David, from them, that was their first 11-on-11. For that here, and they had some players show up late because I guess 35 got shut down. So, so leave early if you're going to or from Austin, just because traffic is never fun on a Saturday. But to me, kind of, switching the mode, from the high schools to the semi-pro. I know San Antonio Surf, is going to be kicking off UPSL action. And also haven't seen their, or actually have seen their WPSL schedule. That's going to be very heavy in June for that here. So we're mid-April at this point. May 1st, San Antonio FC kicks off. If you signed up for their newsletter, if you haven't got tickets yet, you can still get tickets. Looking at it here, there are some tickets still available for that here, as little as $10. Rafa, thank you. Like I said here, hope you have cake, pie, whatever that you have for cupcakes, for your birthday here. But what's life without goals? We out of here.